I'd like to put you in touch now with Brian. And Brian, it's anxiety attacks with you. You're 32 years of age. I used to have these when I was in my late 20s, very early 30s, quite badly. And thankfully, they've gone away. Tell Nick about your situation.
Basically, sort of for the last 15, 20 years, I've always sort of suffered from anxiety, and that leads on to the anxiety attacks and everything. But I've generally put it down to, I'm quite a laid-back fella, so nothing bothers me at the time of it. So I've generally been putting it down to sort of being bottling up and sort of just getting there and exploding. But over sort of the last 2 or 3 years, I was trained more as a mental health first aider and done some training that way. So I've been trying to use the techniques to help with my anxiety, and they're just not been working at all. So it's just more for advice on anything that's not textbook that could possibly help me with my anxiety and things.
The thing is, Brian, I mean, one thing that stands out there is that you let things build up. Yeah. Well, there's two things. You let things build up, and the price of that was the fact that, you know, I've always had anxiety for the last 10, 15 years. Well, the first thing is that you don't have to suffer with anxiety. So I'd like to change your focus on that. And you can say, well, I used to suffer with it, but I'm now dealing with it, is the first thing. And anxiety is a symptom. There's always a fundamental cause to that. And if you're letting things build up, then that's not assisting the cause. So what I would like you to do is just consider what are the things in your life that do lead to that. And again, we mentioned post-it notes with when we're talking to Claire. The same thing, you know, if you put things on post-it notes and get them out of your mind and actually seeing them on paper, you can deal with things a lot better.
I do think that generally, Brian, I do find it more difficult to discuss when little niggles come in, and it's actually dealing with those little niggles one at a time, like Nick said, to avoid the feeling building up and then having an anxiety attack. So don't be shy to talk about it. And even like Nick said again, you know, write it down, because if you write little niggles down that are in your head, by writing them down and seeing them, they can actually help to put it into perspective so that you can systematically deal with everything. Because anxiety is ultimately, it's a feeling of overwhelm where you're feeling in a position of threat, and then the fight or flight mechanism kicks in, you get a surge of hormones, and then all those negative feelings start. So it's about looking for the causes of and dealing with them systematically one at a time.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. I hope that helps you.
I hope that helps,
it's
Brian.
The feeling of overwhelm, and a lot of us could identify with that. So
yeah, and it's interesting, that post-it note thing. I suppose you could all relate to that, couldn't you? You could put the things that are stressing you on post-it notes, and then go, right, which one could I take away?
Ruth. Ruth. Ruth.